This is 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. If you want to contact the show, email 90sandnaughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90sandnaughtiesuk on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.
Hello and welcome to this edition of 90s and Noughties UK. I'm joined by actor Luke Dejahang, who is here to talk about his career and other things besides. How's it going, Luke?
I'm very well. Thank you, Jamie. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here and to have this interview and join you and your guests.
Thank you. So, tell me, I'm sure you get this question a lot. How did your acting career start?
Well, I started when I was very young. I lived in southeast London and I must have been 10, 11. And my parents sent me to a local little drama group in the area. And that's really the first time that I was exposed to the arts and theatre. And it was really to help build my confidence. I was a rather shy kid at the time, believe it or not. It really helped me to come out of my shell and build confidence. So that's when I first started. And then I just continued going to different acting classes and then really started to enjoy learning the art and craft and the process of acting. And then I got into Stanislavski, who was the father of really drama and this sort of new naturalistic style of acting that from the 50s and 60s really started to take off with the likes of Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift. And then I started to become a real student of the art and craft of performance and acting. And then that was it. I went to a wonderful teacher called Anna Scher in North London, National Youth Theatre, and then it just took off from there. I had a child agent, and then I was in Grange Hill, and then I got the bill, and lots of TV shows, and it just took off from there.
I mean, that's quite a CV, just a few things that you've mentioned there. Grange Hill, of course, being one of those shows that gave birth to many acting careers on the screen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there was the Grange Hill for TV, and at the time, as I mentioned, Anna Scher, the National Youth Theatre, there was, that during that period of time, there was so many wonderful actors that have gone on to have very successful careers. My acting journey and my destiny was slightly different because, I started off doing a lot of these big shows, as I've mentioned, and then I was on a big TV show called London's Burning and various other stuff. And then I decided to take a break from the acting for various reasons. I had a young family at the time and other interests got in the way and work commitments, providing, regularly every week got in the way. Acting can be quite a fickle and up and down business, it's quite an unpredictable, precarious existence at the best of times. So for me, I needed some, stability and regularity to what I was doing. So I took a break from the acting, and then I had quite a long break before coming back again because I always loved it. I think once you enjoy, if you're a real student of the craft of acting, performance, it never leaves you. You might get distracted and go off and do something else. But you always come back if that's what you love,
So what did you do in the business world in between acting when you took a break?
I did a TV show called Egypt with Matthew Kelly. That was one of the last things I did. And another TV show called The Grid and Bad Company. And after London's Burning, I had like a real, back-to-back work. And then I met my wife and kids came along. And as I say, I just wanted to spend time with them and I wanted to have some regular, to be able to have just a regular income, if you like, and some stability. And then so I thought, what can I do? And I was doing up a property at the time, and I got charged so much money for the kitchen. I thought, you know something, maybe I could do this myself. So I went and retrained as a carpenter, and then I became a carpenter, and got into the building game. And then for the next, I was only supposed to take 6 months off to become, I thought I'd become a carpenter, do a few kitchens, save a bit of money, and then I've got that skill there. Should I ever need it? 6 months became 15 years. And so here we are.
Goodness.
6 months became 15 years, but I'm back, Jamie. I'm back.
And of course, in that time, we'll talk about London's Burning and the stuff you did in the 90s in a moment. But in that time, when you took that break from acting, went into carpentry, streaming has come along. And of course, one series you were in recently was on Apple TV Plus. I mean, let's be fair, when you were in those series in the late 90s, early 2000s, you couldn't have imagined that there would be such a distribution platform.
Wow. Just the whole world has changed in so many ways. The industry, but everything, and that's just life, life just goes on and things develop and evolve, and you just have to, you have to go with it and roll with the punches. So when I left, you're absolutely right. There was, I might add, there's a lot more technological advanced carpentry equipment as well. I might add. If I went back into carpentry, I'll be able to hang the door much quicker now. I can tell you that. But yeah, so I went away and I came back and the whole industry had changed. You got the streamers and, yeah, absolutely. I think it's also presented lots of opportunities. I'm a big believer in with change comes opportunity as well. So, there's challenges, of course, at the minute, which I hope it improves. But yeah, all in all, opportunities do present themselves. So yeah,
definitely so. I mean, the streamers are getting huge amounts of viewership now, but back in the 90s, linear television was where it was at, and some shows, if they were lucky, got 10, 15 million viewers, and in the UK, that's quite a big deal. I will admit, and this is such a silly thing to admit, but especially in front of you, but I never watched London's Burning. Never. And the thing is, I know it was one of those...
Were you born? You're probably very young.
No, I was born in 1989.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was about 2002 when it ended. So I was about 12. But I do know other people in my age group that were like, yeah, my parents used to allow me to stay up to watch it. But it was one of those big series. I mean, how did it change your career?
Well, it was massive at the time. And in fact, Jamie, I've got a box set. So after this, just send me a little link and I'll send you a box set so you can catch up on the show. But yeah, no, it was a fantastic show, and it was every kid's dream, being a fireman and a firefighter even, and running around, saving people. But in answer to your question, it helped me a lot, and it opened doors, and it led on to other work and opportunities, and also more than just giving me those opportunities in acting. It also gave me a real appreciation of what they do in the fire brigade. It's incredible. It's incredible what they do, and they put themselves in harm's way every single day, and in all of the services, the NHS, the police force, the armed forces, the fire brigade. You have to be selfless, to go into any of these industries and you're putting yourself in danger every single day. So yeah, that gave me a real appreciation and understanding, you know. And this is another thing I'd add to any acting role you do. It gives you learn more about other people's lives, of course, by the nature of the job. You know, so you become a lot more empathetic to what's, you know, what people do in their everyday lives, because that's your job, to get into the heart and soul of the character and what they do in their day-to-day lives.
Especially in relation to what you were talking about earlier with acting techniques. Certainly that is one of those, that's one of the traits of that, isn't it?
It is. It very much is that with especially the acting that I've done, and we won't bore your listeners and your viewers with acting technique, but it's I think with any role that an actor plays, first and foremost, you need to understand that character and what that character does and how they live their life. So you have to go back and do your research, however that research may be done. You know, but you need to do your research, and by the nature of doing that research, you're going to get into the shoes of another life. So, and that in itself is really, you know, it's really one of the things that fascinates me and still draws me back to the acting, is that process of discovering and learning every day. I mean, since coming back, I played a club doorman who wants to become a writer. I played somebody who's got a mental illness, and then I had to study that and what goes with the anxiety and mental illness there. So the first one was a film called Bardo, which was about a doorman, and then I did a film recently called Confines, which was about mental illness. I did another couple of films, each one completely different. You know, just wonderful getting into those characters' lives.
And that research that you must have to do, I mean, it must be pretty overwhelming now, because there's just so many places that you can get information.
It's interesting, Jamie. I would say, yes, I agree with you that it can be overwhelming, because just by the very nature of having so much information everywhere, you know, where do I take my information from? Is it the correct information? But it's, I think, you know, you just have to, you know, settle and say, right, okay, I'm just gonna start, and you just go through it, and you go through the different research. You know, you read, you can, you know, there's so many documentaries now on various subjects, and you just have to be selective, because as you say, if you're not selective, you could end up literally overwhelmed with, okay, I mean, I've got a mountain of research material here. Where do I start? So you have to be selective. You're absolutely right. But you know, on the flip side of that, again, the advantage is that you do have so much information to choose from.
Well, so many sources thanks to the internet, and certainly as we touched upon earlier, the internet has changed everything in life, I think, you know, where you get information, where you watch things. Now, the series that you made for Apple TV, was that... I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to streaming. You've probably noticed. But was that one of those series that was made by them, or was that made by another company and then they buy the distribution rights? Do you know that information?
I believe, again, don't hold me to this because I don't want to get it wrong, but I believe the very first series of Tehran was made by an independent production company, Shula Productions. And then I believe after Apple got involved, I think in the next series. But don't hold me to that, Jamie, because I'm not 100% sure. I think that's how it worked out, that, you know, this season one they did, and it was a fantastic series and everyone loved it, and then it got commissioned for more series. The series that I've just done, I played quite a tough guy in it. I won't reveal any storylines, of course, but I play a tough guy in it. And I tell you, the cast and crew and the people that I worked with were just wonderful people. And we just had a great time shooting it, you know. So I hope people love the show. There's a lot of there's so much content and so many good shows out there that I need to catch up on some of the series myself.
Oh yeah, there's so many things out there.
There's so much.
Yeah, it's very much. I think I can't remember which comedian it was, but there is a comedian out there. It might be John Richardson, that says that these things, like the watch lists and the things we record in our box, is like a to-do list. And that's certainly,
it's so true.
I think, where we are with this. I've asked this before to actors that I've had on the podcast, but obviously where you took a break from acting was perhaps the production companies that you worked with in recent years. Were they familiar with your earlier work?
Yes, they were. The productions that I did, they were aware of those shows. But people do ask the question, rightfully so, where have you been for the last 15 years? That was a long time ago, Luke. But as I say, life took me in a different direction. I wouldn't change anything. I think I'm a better actor for it because I've had a lot more life experience. I'm a lot more settled and relaxed now. So the work that I'm doing now, I'm really enjoying the process. I'm really enjoying the actors and the creatives that I'm working with. So they did know my work, to answer your question. Not everybody, I'm sure, but they knew of the shows. But yeah, the question was, you've been away for a while.
Earlier in your career, you dabbled in different genres. Did you have a genre that you were particularly keen on that maybe you'd like to have done more of?
Not really, no. I've got, there's nothing that I would have liked to have done more of, because for the simple fact that at the time I did quite varied roles. This time around, there are lots of different genres that I'm working in. I would probably say drama, thriller, action, gangster film. Those are the sort of films. But then again, I'm working on a survival thriller stroke horror film, developing a feature film at the moment. I've got a number of feature films that are being developed at the minute. That's what makes it exciting. There's not one specific genre, or this is my gig, this is what I do. No, the excitement of it is to experiment and do as much different things as possible. And sometimes, I accept I might fall flat on my face, but it's going to be an experience and a journey. And that's what makes it exciting. It's that journey that makes it really exciting.
Definitely. Did you ever find yourself feeling nervous when shooting an action sequence? Because I can imagine in something like London's Burning, for example, there's a lot of, like you say, firefighters and action sequences and a lot of very tense things.
Yeah, I would, if I'm completely honest, I'd probably describe it more as excitement and, that feeling, that buzz that you get, that adrenaline rush that you get, rather than nervous. Because I think anything that you do, if you're nervous or if you're anxious, I think that's when mistakes happen. And you can't afford for mistakes to happen when you're doing something, which is the higher the risk for danger. But of course, on these TV shows, they've got the best stunt guys and you're really looked after. So from that respect, if anything, the dangerous sequences, it's those wonderful stunt guys and stunt women, boys and girls that are taking on that risk. But as an actor, of course, there are times. I just did a scene about 3 days ago. I was in Greece filming, or a few weeks ago, or whatever it was, and it was shooting an AK-47, and that in itself is, you feel a bit you feel a bit nervous, or I said it. You do feel that adrenaline, I think, is the word.
You alluded earlier to perhaps getting back into carpentry. Is that ever on the cards for you, do you feel?
Probably not. I don't think so. I think with the carpentry, but never say never. It's good to have that skill. It's something I can do. So it's great to be able to have that skill set. But it's not something that I'll be rushing back to doing. Just because now my direct, my life's taken a different course again with the acting and the film work. But it's good to know I've got the skills. If I needed to, I can go back to it.
Well, yeah, and it's always good to have those skills around the house, and and things like that, to be able to do little jobs that need doing.
Yeah, I've still got my toolkit somewhere, gathering dust, I might add, but it's the skills are still there. So, in fact, in one of the films that I did, I was actually playing. The character was working in a factory as a carpenter. So I thought, if nothing else, I don't need to do too much research for this one.
I mean, that was my next question. Would that ever be a possibility? But there we are. What are you? I know that these things are sometimes under wraps. What are you working on at the moment?
So I've just finished Tehran, as I mentioned, and I'm having a little break, and then I come back, and then we are looking at. I'm looking at doing a film with Ant Middleton, the real life SAS hero, and that's a really nice little gig. So I'm actually going away the day after tomorrow to do some training, military training in Wales for that role. So again, I'll get more practice with different handguns and that sort of thing. I like to really research any role that I'm doing, and going back to that thing of feeling confident in what you're doing. Confidence comes with practice. So the more you practice, the more confident you are with it. You still have that adrenaline, but you know what you're doing. So this is one of the reasons why I'm doing that training. So I've got a few days training later on this week for that role. And then there's another feature film that we're working on at the minute. It's a couple of feature films, one in particular, which is based on somebody growing up in Southeast London, not dissimilar to myself. And it's a bit of a football, soccer type film. Can't say too much about that one, but I'd love to, if you'd have me back when we a bit further down the line on that, I'd be more than happy to come and talk about it.
Oh, that would be marvelous. Yes, Tehran is the series that's on Apple TV Plus. Has that been renewed, or is that finishing?
So that we've just finished the series. So now it's about them doing what they do in what they call post-production. After all the filming's done, they go away and put it all together. And then all the hard work, hopefully, is going to be put out and for people to enjoy this tense thriller action drama series. So yeah, that I'm not sure exactly when that's coming out, to be honest, but that's people will be able to see me in that, and also the Ant Middleton film, which I'm filming in relatively soon.
Well, I shall keep my eyes peeled for that, and I'm sure many people will as well. Thank you, Luke, for being on the podcast today.
Jamie, thank you very much, and thank you to your viewers and your listeners, and I really appreciate your time, buddy. Lovely talking to you. Hopefully we'll meet again.
Thank you for listening to 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe on your favourite podcast provider. If you want to contact the show, email 90sandnoughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90sandnoughties UK on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.